Hey guys, Zelda here, and welcome back to 999. As we are listening to people walking, I guess we should get this out. They left the operating room. The hallway took them around several corners and past several doors, but they were all locked.
Here too, huh?
There. Oh, Sorry, I couldn't do the explanation of what we did last episode with all of that, like, all those footsteps. So, anyway, last episode we went into door number 7. We chose to go there, and we ended up in an operating room where we did a little puzzles, and we had 2 mannequins, which we had to interchange their, well, I guess their parts, their body parts, and there we came across some interesting information about Seven. Seven remembered something about EDT, which is a cleaning agent, and it was about the same story as the glycerin that all crystallized. And then we talked about Ice 9, and he somehow got to a certain name called Alice. Alice was the name. And apparently that mummy that June talked about is the same person, most likely the same mummy as this Alice girl that was in this ice. And she is rumored to be on the gigantic, under the navel of the library or something. Wait, was that? In the library under the navel of the gigantic, and seeing as 7 assumes that this is the gigantic, which we don't know for sure. This could be another replica, or, it could be anything. It could also be an escape room kind of facility, I guess. And, but we got interrupted by Clover. And then as we were about to leave the puzzle room, we noticed that Clover wasn't there, so we went back to get her. And we gave her the bookmark, the 4-leaf Clover bookmark. And we talked about Lock Socks and the ship of Theseus. And we talked about fields that you can't see with a naked eye. And she mentioned that her brother is probably dead and that she was soon to follow. And that's kind of where we left off. So now you know. Now you know the story. So let's continue.
Every door in this place is locked up tight.
How about that one?
The final door was hidden in the corner of the hall.
May as well give it a try.
Junpei grabbed the handle. As he made to push it open, the voice stopped him. The voice came from behind him and belonged to neither 7 nor Clover.
Jumpy!
Hey, it's June! He spun around, and he saw someone running towards him from the other end of the hallway. There were 3 people coming towards Junpei and his companions.
June? And Santa! And Lotus too!
They pulled up short in front of Junpei, breathing hard.
Whoa! What the hell is this?
What are you doing here?
What? But we didn't...
Before he could finish, Clover spoke.
Hey guys! Could you come take a look at this?
She was standing near the end of the small hallway that had branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious at what the sheet had found.
Look on the wall here.
Sorry. Look at the wall here. Yeah, okay. Sorry. There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway.
A map of the ship's interior?
It says C deck. So it's the map for this floor then?
Door 7. And...
Yeah, this is the one we took. This is the operating room and the small thing there. Though the exit does not compute, though. The exit was kind of... Oh, wait, no, it was. Because you had to go around the border and then go out. Yeah, okay.
Door 8. Yep, they both eventually end up at this hallway.
Man, they had to run a long way, didn't they? They had to probably run all the way down here to right here. And that's probably where the dead was. What is this, though? I believe this is something else. Like an experimentation room, maybe? I mean, we're next to a laboratory, so it wouldn't be weird. In fact...
Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't going to be split up permanently till we find door 9. We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we won't be able to open door 9. That's how the Nonary game works.
I see.
Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again.
Wait a sec.
So this is door 8, that's door 7. That's the door that I didn't have a number, but this, look, it has a door here, which ends up here. So I guess that door is the exit to door 3. And every door, I guess, because they ended up here, we ended up here. So this is the exit door right here, this one. And door 3 goes like this, I guess, like this.
Hey, could this lead to...
Yup. As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to wariness.
Oh!
You've got to be kidding me.
One by one, the others saw what he'd seen.
We may as well go. Yeah.
They moved as one for the door.
Oh, almost forgot. We should keep this.
He pulled the map of the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others. The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke without looking back at the other 5.
Ready? I'm gonna open it.
Slowly, all 5 nodded their silent assent. Not their silent assent, apparently. Assent. With a deep breath, Santa threw open the door. They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each of them knew where they were.
I knew it.
They were just where the map had said they would
We're
be.
back.
In the hospital room.
In the hospital room.
Yup. ... Dot.
I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, and then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors.
He looked like anyone might, after only just waking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report.
At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I know I said I was sure you'd come back for me. I didn't think it would happen so soon, though.
Ace shook his head with a rueful smile.
Well, we saw each other again and we ain't dead, so I say that's good enough.
7 smiled.
Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need.
The key?
Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Right, Junpei?
Yeah.
Yup. Junpei nodded.
Oh, the solar system keys. Actually, we found one in the laboratory too. Here.
Ah, the Earth one. Lotus dug out a still warm key with an Earth symbol on it.
I might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way it won't be my fault if it gets lost.
Yeah. On it.
With that, she pressed it into Junpei's hand. He felt slightly less than honored.
Now we have 3 keys that we haven't used yet.
Yeah. The Jupiter key that we found in the operating room. The Saturn key card we found in the kitchen.
And now the Earth key.
And the Earth key Lotus just gave me.
Junpei tucked the new keys in his pocket. June spoke up.
The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long, straight hallway, right?
Yeah. If the map's right, then it connects to the central staircase. Then, next to the stairs...
Yeah.
Wait!
They were the first words anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. That's true, she just stopped. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy
What
words.
about door 3?
Look, you saw the map, right? It's the same as 7 and 8. It just lead us back to the big hospital room. There's no point to seeing what's on the other side of that door.
There is a point. At least there is for me.
Oh, the way she said, "There is for me," you could hear the tears in her voice. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at Seven as hard as she could just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. 7 looked everywhere in the room, except Clover, and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath.
Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3.
Clover nodded once. The next person to speak was Ace.
Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So 7, you'll help me, won't you?
Huh? Me?
7 plus 1 is 8. Plus Clover is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. Junpei did the calculations quickly in his head. 12 plus 1 plus 7 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. Yeah. Just said that. Junpei, I was much faster than you were. It looked like 7 was doing them too. At last, he gave up.
Damn. So I'm going with you, huh?
Why did it do that? Damn, well, I guess that's gotta oh damn, I guess that's how it's gonna be.
Yes, you are.
All right, let's get moving.
I don't know why he has issues with Ace, though. And so it was decided that Clover, Ace, and 7 would discover what lay beyond door 3.
Okay, we're heading out.
Be careful.
Whoa. Didn't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus.
Don't let it go to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9 door.
Ah, the truth comes out.
Let me think. No. 5. 5. No. Seven nodded as if this answer made much more sense, and pulled the lever on the red. Good luck.
Okay, we're off.
The door opened and Ace, Clover, and 7 jumped through it. 6, 7, 8, 9. After exactly 9 seconds, the door closed noisily.
All right, we should get moving too.
Huh?
We have keys to do,
Get
man.
moving.
Yeah, we got keys to check.
Where are we going?
Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused.
Well, it would be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain.
Oh, I get it. We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key.
Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake.
They were at the end of the hallway lined by individual hospital rooms.
And here's the Jupiter symbol on the keyhole.
All right, Junpei, open it if you please.
Yeah, on it.
Well, I'm not gonna say no if you say it so kindly. Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice, sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Junpei sucked in a breath, held it, and opened the door as quietly as he could. There we are again, in the central hallway, the central staircase hallway. Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom with a massive central staircase.
Great, back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea?
What do you mean?
Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here.
Of course, we have other keys to check.
Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky.
Huh?
This.
Junpei pulled 2 things out of his pockets.
The Saturn key card. And the Earth key? I'm lost.
Are you really that dumb? Santa cocked his head to one side, like an inquisitive bird, and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took pity on him.
Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. So the 2 keys that Jumpy has?
Should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck.
Yes, that's right.
June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa.
All right, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split into 2 teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you 2 can search Saturn, all right?
Sounds good. Then you guys should take this key.
Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search would be brief.
We have no idea what's on the other side of these. So don't go too far. Just search for 10 minutes and come back.
Plan decided the 2 teams split it up. Pretty sure it's just split up, but okay. Junpei and June headed for the elevators.
There's a card reader next to the left elevator.
Then let's try out the Saturn key card.
The light on the upper left corner blinked to
Great!
life.
It looks like it's working now.
All right, now how do I call the elevator?
There was a single button to the right of the elevator door.
Oh, it only has the upside-down triangle on it.
I guess there's no up button. Well, we may as well try pushing this one.
The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of a motor. Then, as the elevator car moved down. Moved up, you mean? Because it went up, not down?
It
It
opened! Look, Jumpy!
So many mistakes. June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety.
Sweet! It opened! Let's get going.
He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. As he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm.
Wait!
What?
I'm not really, I just, oh gosh.
Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably frightened of. Honestly, this is the faster option, but this is the funner option. After a little thought, Junpei decided that she had to be nervous about being locked up in such a small space along with a boy. Sorry, my cat was in the way. I'm sorry. Hey, sweetie. Can you not? Thank you. Sorry.
Well, we will be all alone in here.
In a way, it was kind of cute. Very demure, you could say, he thought. Still, even though it wasn't exactly roomy in the elevator, they weren't going to be pressed up against each other. At least, they didn't have to be. Still, it was making her nervous. Junpei couldn't help but think how innocent she was.
Jumpy?
Huh? Oh, nothing. It's not important. Come on, let's go.
Again, he stepped toward the elevator. And again, he felt himself restrained.
I said wait a minute.
Why?
Aren't you afraid, Jumpy?
Afraid of what?
Well, I've never... You know.
It's your first time?
She'd never been in an elevator with a man alone before? Even so, she seemed... I'm sorry, just a moment. Even so, she seemed awfully alarmed.
I might... get wet.
What?
Down there. I'd get soaking wet.
Oh, the misunderstanding in this one.
Well, I mean, of course you would. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of anyone getting soaking wet somewhere else.
That's true. You don't mind?
Mind what?
Getting wet.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd probably, like it.
Gosh, Jumpy. You're so brave.
They're talking about two completely different things.
Really? I mean, I kind of think any guy would do the same thing, you know?
What happens, happens, right? I mean, if you get the chance, you've just got to go for it. That's what a man is supposed to do, I guess.
Yeah. You're so cool, Jumpy. I really admire you.
That doesn't really seem like the sort of thing you ought to admire someone for.
I'm really scared.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've never done it before.
Yes. So, I don't think I'll be able to last very long. And then it'll be over.
Over?
Yes. I'll go to heaven.
Heaven?
It feels kind of like you're floating in space, and your mind gets all fuzzy, like when you pass out.
And now he thinks she's talking about orgasming.
At least that's what I've heard from people who have experienced it.
Yes, I've heard that too. Although I don't think the same thing happens to guys.
Why wouldn't it? Don't guys orgasm?
What?
Huh?
But it would happen to men too, wouldn't it? It would happen to anyone. Once it gets into your body, the same thing happens to everyone.
Well, I mean, usually it doesn't go inside the man. I mean, generally.
Yes, it does. Well, eventually it will. It's not like you really have a choice. Your body will force you to swallow some of it. Eventually.
What are you trying to do to me?
Nothing. I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm just saying that that's what happens. It's a psychological reaction to what you're experiencing.
Oh, is that so?
Then it's only natural? Is that what's natural for living beings? Perhaps he'd been mistaken all these years. Had he misunderstood life so gravely? The thought terrified him. June seemed to be entirely oblivious to Junpei's mounting confusion and terror.
I know most men probably have larger lungs, but
and
even
here
then,
we go.
I don't think you could hold your breath for 20 or even 10 minutes.
And now he's like, oh, it's about water. It's not about sex. Okay, oh yeah, no, I think with my penis, I'm sorry.
Eventually, you'd have to breathe, and then the water would get into your lungs. Once that happens, your body won't be able to get oxygen anymore, and you'll start to feel that floaty feeling as you...
Oh.
This part. The way he laughs, oh my god. It's really someone who's like, oh shit. I was thinking about completely different things. Finally, Junpei understood. He understood what June was trying to say and why she was so scared.
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't last very long.
See?
He was afraid that the only elevator button pointed down. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A and B decks near the central staircase. All of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks.
Come to think of it, the lower floor, D deck, is completely underwater. An elevator heading to a submerged floor. That is pretty scary. Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right?
I mean, you said it went down, but somehow it went up, so I don't know. I don't know
well,
anymore.
Yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise, like it was moving, and then it opened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, take a look inside.
Junpei jerked his head towards the interior of the elevator.
It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry.
Oh, you're right. They are.
She looked around the elevator slightly embarrassed.
Well, let's test it.
Test it.
Yeah, watch this. Now, I'll just put one foot inside the elevator and look over at the buttons. Oh,
There's only two, E and C. All right, I'll push E.
He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down. It is such a cool animation, though. This is bottom deck, I believe.
I think I can hear it opening on E deck.
Okay, that's done. Now I'll just press the button again.
A few moments later, the elevator returned.
Yep, not a single drop of water to be seen. See?
Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. June, however, still looked confused.
What does that mean? How can E deck be safe if the D deck is full of water?
Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E-deck must be watertight and separated from wherever the ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you.
He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched out a rough illustration.
I see. So is that why the ship hasn't sunk?
Do you see? Sorry. God, that was a terrible joke.
The shape of the inside keeps it all from filling with water?
Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back in his pocket.
So I'm gonna go down and check it out. You stay here, alright?
But...
Come on, just do it, alright?
He gave June's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped into the elevator. He pushed the E button and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision when suddenly...
I'm coming with you!
Huh?
At the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors.
Hey, wait!
Junpei jammed his finger against the open button. There was no open button! I can see all the buttons here and there's no open button. But it was too late.
Oh, crap, it closed!
Door had shut. He and June were in the elevator and it was headed down to E-deck. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on E-deck.
I can't just let you go alone, you know.
Ah, jeez.
Ah, jeez. The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They tentatively stepped out and looked around.
It looks normal.
No fish going about their fishy business, or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks were puffed out, and her mouth was a tiny, intense frown.
Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here.
June looked around nervously, then exhaled.
You're right. It's not flooded at all.
See?
But there's a whole lot of water.
Yeah, right on top of us.
What's gonna happen if the ceiling breaks?
Junpei thought about that for a moment.
Well, we'd probably get really wet up there.
Reference.
Huh?
At any rate, we should probably move out as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here.
And she doesn't get it either. She's like, huh? Because he wasn't thinking the way he was thinking, so she doesn't get it.
Lotus and Santa might already be back.
She didn't have the same realization of, hey, oh, he's thinking about sex and not about water. Otherwise, they would have laughed together, I think.
Okay, good idea.
Now then.
Junpei glanced around the room they found themselves in. The first thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. He ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right
Iron
one.
bars. Well, we can't go over there.
Right.
Then maybe...
We can go right? The corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found... Oh, in the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner.
It looks like there's a long straight hallway down this way.
Something's written on the door at the end. Wait, is that...
Let's check.
Pretty sure it's a 6. Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint. 6.
I knew it!
This is a numbered door!
Yes, it is. And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall right next to the door.
But we can't do anything with only the 2 of us.
We better head back and let everyone know.
Yes.
Junpei and June turned and headed back to the C deck.
Wait, what's this?
On their way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall.
Is this the map for E-Deck? I should
Yep.
take it with me.
I think so.
Huh, so you guys found door 1.
They'd met back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they'd found. Apparently, there was another numbered door on A deck, just like the one on E deck, beyond the door that the Earth key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door.
So now we've located 2 new doors, the 6 door and the 1 door.
You know, it is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded.
Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought.
Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator.
Even so, it's still very interesting.
You said the 6th door was there, right?
Yes.
Then that means Zero planned all this out, even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost.
It would have been a ton, that's for sure.
Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash.
Yes, it does make sense.
That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing.
Yeah?
I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here.
June looked up at Junpei with large pleading eyes.
Yes, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already.
Well, Junpei and I should be able to open door 1.
Huh? You guys leaving me behind?
8 plus 6 plus 5 is 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1.
Just kidding.
And that goes back to the proposals she had when we were looking for Snake, because that was the same thing.
All right, let's go.
Lotus's last words were the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went. Hello, beautiful kitty. Oh, my beautiful kitty. The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room.
Hey! Where the hell did you guys go?
It was 7.
7?
Ace was right behind him, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back.
What's wrong?
It looked as though there was something strange about them. 7 had the look of a man who'd seen a ghost. Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. For a long moment they simply stood there, looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. He looked at 7.
What happened?
What the hell kind of question is that?
7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. His shoulders were trembling, and his voice was strained.
Snake is...
7 couldn't finish. He just looked away, his face twisted by... Junpei wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke.
Snake is dead. He died, just as the 9th man did.
Oh, here we go. Now you get the pling, and you get the creepy music. I love this song. It was as if all the air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heartbeat quicken, and he realized that he was having trouble breathing. He could feel cold sweat beading on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All three were frozen in place, their faces white.
Oh my god. That's not true, is it?
We should make sure.
Yeah, right. We should.
They nodded to one another and headed for the number 3 door.
Wait! Not that way!
What? Why not?
They stopped short and turned to look at 7. He was pointing at the door with no number.
I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way. It's not locked, so you can go in that way.
Where is he?
The shower room. The left side of the hallway. I put a broom in there too to keep the door open.
That means we can get in without going through the numbered door, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then let's go.
Their new destination clear, Junpei and his companions headed for the door without a number, sorry. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door on the left wall.
This wasn't open when we passed here before.
But now, just as 7 had said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame, keeping it open.
Well, let's keep going.
Oh, here we go. Now I can get into my grotesque reading of gore. They looked at it for a moment, then stepped inside.
Oh, it smells horrible.
Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pinched his nose shut.
Ugh, yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke.
It was just as bad as they said, perhaps worse. A hideous smell filled the air so thick you could almost taste it. It was sour and smelled of fish, feces, and burnt meat. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down to his throat to pound against the entrance to his stomach.
Ooh.
He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belonged.
Where is he? Where's Snake?
Well, what do you think? There's a lot of blood. They didn't have to wonder where the body was. There was blood everywhere, a few arms of the splatter reaching toward them as they walked in through the door. All one had to do was follow the many radial arms to their source. The body itself was hidden behind the divider.
June, you should stay here.
But...
Please, just do me a favor, okay?
He didn't give her a chance to say no. He put his hand on her shoulder as to shove her into the ground like a tent pole, turned and walked towards the end of the divider.
I'm going in.
He felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually, they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded slowly. Junpei had his hands on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest, like an empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew in that instant that he would take the image before him to the grave. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great Red Sea. A vast ragged hole had been torn into the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out of it like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall, even as they dried to it.
Just like he said.
Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own.
Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut.
It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful.
Oh, the bone is coming out of his left arm.
It's Definitely an open fracture.
His legs were both bent at an odd, unnatural way, and his arm had split open, exposing the painful white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
Oh, the face. It's horrible.
Yeah, can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. Yum. His clothes were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the greased legs.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
No mistake about it. It's Snake.
Lotus's voice was unnaturally deep and strained, and Junpei heard it catch in her throat. But you couldn't tell who it was with his face, though. Just putting it out there. Maybe... Oh, you couldn't see his face. Not saying it isn't Snake. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend I know. Well, I do know what I know, but, you know. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just making you think. The squeal of the tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. It sounded like the noise a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, he never got used to it. Every time, it put him on edge. It didn't help that there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human should. Ghost Clover. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Aside from the rise and fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as if even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces.
Snake was probably murdered. Chances are he was killed the same way the Ninth Man was.
Seven lowered his voice, likely in an effort to keep Clover from hearing what he had to say. There were 4 other people in the room with Junpei and Seven. Ace, Center, June, and Lotus. Seven looked at each one of them in turn and continued.
It's pretty straightforward. Not that hard to figure out how they did it. First, the killers got Snake to authenticate on the red to open door 3. Then they shoved him into it. Alone. And waited 9 seconds for the door to shut. Once that door shut, it was all over for Snake. But he didn't give up. He probably knew it wouldn't do him any good, but he probably ran into the shower room looking for the dead. It was a small chance, but it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The detonator is only deactivated if everybody who authenticated when they went in uses the dead. Snake was the only one who went through the door, and then 81 seconds after he was shoved in, that happened.
I see. So that's what you meant by killers. You need at least 3 people to open one of the numbered doors, including Snake. It wouldn't open for Snake and a single killer.
Yeah. That means we're looking at multiple perps here.
Junpei crossed his arms and grunted.
Well, just in case, I want to make sure. Let's say you're right. When do you think Snake was killed?
When we all split up to look for the parts for the Reds, I think. Right after that was when we noticed he was gone.
Then that means none of us have alibis. We were all off searching the rooms we'd been assigned, looking for those parts.
Yeah. That means anybody could be a killer.
Yep.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
June seemed shocked.
How can you say that so casually? You're implying that one of us is a killer.
Well, not just one of us. If I'm right, then at least 2 of us are murderers.
Why don't you calm down a bit, Seven? What are you going to gain by being so suspicious? That's what Zero wants, you know?
What Zero wants?
Exactly. This game was set up by Zero, wasn't it? Any game has a winner and loser. Whoever makes it through door 9 is a winner, and those who don't are the losers. Zero is trying to make us fight against one another for that victory.
Then you're saying that Zero is trying to split us up by making us fight each other?
Yes. That is why we can't let ourselves fall prey to suspicion. We have to trust one another and form a strong bond of friendship. Otherwise, we'll end up ensnared by Zero's manipulations.
Then does that mean that the person who killed Snake...
Yes, almost certainly Zero himself. If there's anyone we should doubt, it should be Zero. He masterminded this game and kidnapped all of us. Doesn't it seem reasonable that he would have killed Snake as well?
But why? Why
question.
only Snake?
If Zero
Junpei-
killed Snake, then Zero is on the ship with us.
Junpei hadn't really considered that. If Zero killed Snake, then Zero's on the ship with us. Junpei, was Zero still on the ship with them? Of course! Sure, let's go with that. Of course he was. That was obvious.
But I don't...
Zero was somewhere on the ship, but Junpei had no idea where. Junpei mumbled to himself, lost in thought.
Where could Zero be hiding?
Suddenly everyone went very quiet. The silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting moaning noise. And moments later, a person who had looked more like a ghost than human appeared. It was Clover. Again, doing that same thing again. Okay. She looked at the floor as she spoke, and her voice was a cold monotone. They said the ghost thing twice. That's what I meant. Like, oh, she looked more like a ghost than anything else. They did that twice.
I think Zero is one of us.
Every human body in the room froze. The only sound was the muffled rustling of breath. Eyes darted from face to face. One of those faces was the face of their jailer. Oh god, the cat is standing in front. But who? Was he one of them? Well, that's possible.
Well, that's possible.
My cat is sitting in front of my monitor.
Huh?
Like Clover said, Zero might be one of us.
What are you saying? Didn't you hear what
Sorry.
Ace said?
Exactly. I said we shouldn't suspect one another for no reason.
No reason. I've got a great reason. And what's that?
The bracelets.
He held out his left
Why are the
arm.
bombs in our bodies connected to the bracelets? You're all thinking Zero's hiding somewhere watching us, right? If he's doing that, then he could just detonate the bombs by remote control if someone did something they weren't supposed to. It would be a lot more precise and a lot easier. But if that's the case, then why is the bomb set off by the detonator in the bracelet?
You got a point.
I'm not done. Try applying the same ideas to the Nonary game. All of the puzzles here run all by themselves. In other words, Zero doesn't have to be controlling them for the game to move forward. Why's that? Why would Zero bother to do something like that?
Junpei let the question hang in the air and looked at the others. It was Santa who answered.
So let's say you and Clover are right. Zero's one of us. If that's the case, then it'd be really hard for him to keep track of all of us or control anything remotely. That's why all the puzzles run by themselves. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded.
7, when we were talking earlier, you said any one of us could be Snake's killer, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Alright then. I've got a question for you, Ace. You said something like Zero must be the one who killed Snake, right?
Yes, something like that. I can't think of any other explanation.
So what do we get if we combine those? They fit together pretty well, I think. Something like this. Whoever killed Snake is Zero. Hence, Zero is one of us. 7 and Ace's theories aren't mutually exclusive. They actually complement each other pretty well. At least they do if Zero is one of us.
No one spoke. Their faces were grim, but Junpei wasn't sure if they believed him or not. Finally, Lotus spoke up.
What were his motives?
His motives?
Yes, isn't that pretty important? Why would Zero want to hide as one of us?
Oh, well, that's because...
Junpei choked. He hadn't thought of that, and he had to be honest with himself. He had no idea.
I don't know.
Sorry, I have to get the cat out of the way. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. Oh, yes, I know you love me. Let's sit on my shoulder then. Lotus sighed.
Well, so much for making a persuasive argument, Junpei.
In other words,
It's a
you only
theory.
had circumstantial evidence.
Hey, you do too. It's a theory. A good theory.
I don't really think that's enough to go on, you know?
Ow, okay, go away then. Oh my gosh, her nails are like scissors. Like needles. And your theory of Zero is killed Snake is? Junpei was painfully aware of the eyes on him and their disapproval. He tried to find something else, anything else to look at. Then, in that horrible silence, 2, 3. It's 3 a.m. They heard the bell began to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase.
It's 3 in the morning.
That means we have 3 hours left.
Then we need to move now. Seven, Clover, Junpei, I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you?
You're right, but...
Junpei couldn't bring himself to respond. He swallowed the words he wanted to say and sighed. Seven and Clover remained similarly silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away.
We must go. We have very little time left.
Ace's words put their feet into moving. Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where they were going.
Our next destination is Mercury.
Yep.
But maybe you and June should check it out first and then report back to us.
All right, let's go, June.
Right. Here it is.
It sat bolted to the wall near the stairs that led to the casino and the kitchen between the two elevators.
The Mercury card reader.
No, Lotus's sign, right?
We're using the card 7 gave us, right?
Yeah,
I found it when we were checking out the shower room.
I think Seven said something like that. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Junpei slid the card through the reader. The light on the reader turned green and made a tiny electronic noise.
I guess the elevator works now.
Jumpy, I know it's only the two of us, but let's do our best.
What's with you all of a sudden?
Well, I'm happy we were put together.
You know it's just for searching E-Deck, right?
Even so, I'm glad.
Oh,
God damn it. Even so, I'm glad I'm with you.
first we need to find out if the elevator comes up full of water.
Just like we did before.
Nope, it's dry.
Here it is.
I knew it. It's not wet at all.
Let's go.
Yes.
Once it had been checked for water, Junpei and June stepped into the elevator.
Look! Nearly all of the buttons are destroyed.
Yeah, only the seat and bottom button can be pushed.
We're on C deck right now, so the only one we can choose is bottom.
Yeah. Well, let's try it out.
Junpei hit the bottom button. The door closed. Slowly, they began to move downward.
Oh, so this is the bottom deck.
They stepped off and saw that the hallway to their right ended somewhere between 20 and 25 feet from them. The hallway in front of them was a dead end, but not a regular dead end.
Hey, over there.
2.
This is a numbered door.
This is the 8th one we found. There were 2 numbered doors on B deck near the central staircase. They were doors 4 and 5. 3 more in the large hospital room, doors 3, 7, and 8.
And the door we found on E deck, and the door Lotus and Santa found on A deck. It was a 6 on the door on E deck, and a 1 on the door on A deck.
4, 5, 3, 7, 8, 6, 1. And now door 2 stood in front of Junpei.
That means...
Do you think the next door we find?
Yeah, I think so. The next one's gonna be door 9.
Despite himself, Junpei felt excited. There was something about that excitement that had frightened him as well.
Finally!
Yeah,
You don't look very happy about it, though.
it's not that. I just hope nothing goes wrong.
You're right. We should keep our fingers crossed.
Let's head back.
Okay.
He did his best to put it from his mind and headed back to C deck with June.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 7 pieces.
The pieces of paper they'd folded up lay on the ground next to Junpei's legs. Everyone had written on the paper pulled from Junpei's notebook in an effort to pull together a blindfold.
Just double checking, but
Vote.
everyone wrote their code name and a door number they want, right?
Vote.
Yes, just like you told us earlier.
Can't believe we're voting here.
Why had they decided to vote that way?
We need to make the whole thing fair, blah-de-blah. This is a complicated plan, you know. Hurry it up, Mr. I have a brilliant idea.
They decided it wasn't fair to simply ask everyone at once. That would allow people to force others to go through certain doors.
Yeah, quiet in the peanut gallery.
And he had a plan. And it wasn't a plan he wanted anyone catching wind of. However, it wasn't a plan that he wanted anyone to catch wind of, however, so he did his best to act calm as he began to open and read the pieces of paper.
All right, let's open these up. The first one says, Ace requests door 1.
Yes, I do. Would you like me to explain why?
No, we don't have time for that. Sorry. Let's keep going.
He opened the second one.
Next is Santa. He wants door 6.
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Junpei continued with the third, fourth, and fifth pieces of paper.
Clover wants 1, Lotus wants 2, and 7 also wants 2.
Wait a minute.
Oh, here we go.
There is no way I'm going anywhere with the Elephant Man.
The elephant
No,
man.
there'd be no point to the voting if we let people change their choices because of stuff like that.
But,
Just give it up, Lotus. It's not like I want to hang out with some exhibitionist grandma.
I am not an exhibitionist. I'm wearing clothes.
Barely.
So, last I checked, that's not a crime.
Maybe. But what about common decency? Nobody wants to have to look at a chick who looks like a half-naked raisin.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you!
Jesus, 7. She looks gorgeous. Lotus's hair flared out like a mane of an angry lion, and she roared.
Not good.
And she roared with a voice that shook the walls. And then the guy who looks like a lion actually said something.
Let go! Let go of me! I'm killing him!
With some difficulty, Ace managed to restrain her.
Junpei, read the rest.
Right.
Junpei tore his eyes away and looked down at the sixth piece of paper. He opened it.
June wants door 6.
Yes. I don't really have a reason. I just felt like it.
All the papers, save Junpei's, had been read. He did some quick calculations in his head.
So this was everyone's vote. Ace and Clover requested door 1.
This was a door in A deck, near the central staircase.
7 and Lotus requested door 2.
This was the door on the bottom deck and could be reached by taking the elevator to the bottom of the ship.
Santa and June requested door 6.
This was the door in E deck and could be reached by taking the elevator near the central staircase
Then
down.
the door I should choose is...
It took him less than a second to run the numbers. He opened the seventh piece of paper and spoke.
Okay, the last one is mine. I want to go through...
Ooh, what door are we gonna choose? Who knows? that will be left to the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. We're gonna continue next time, and I already know which door I'm gonna choose, the one that I chose the first time I played it. So it's strange how I remember it though. Like, I remember it so well because the first ending was so creepy to me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you have a nice day as well. Bye bye.